down, do it, lock it down. Spin in, check up. Heavy damage on the left rear, boys. What the f was that?
How many lives do we have left?
Oh, hell yeah, fellas.
And what's up, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Historic Hot Laps. I'm your host, Alex Daniels. We've got quite a few things to talk about, like usual. Back with the history segments on this one, so make sure you stick around to that. If you already know how the race has gone and don't want to hear the recaps, then please skip forward to the history because it's a good one this time. But let's kick off some race recaps. We had Indy at Detroit. Let's start off with the NXT series, the rising up-and-comers, if you will. Pretty chaotic start on that one. The race began with a pretty wild incident involving multiple cars, leading to quite a caution period to clean up everything. Kind of a traffic jam there in the corner. And as we know, that Detroit track is pretty tight, pretty snug. So yeah, a lot of damage, mostly minor, but we saw a couple cars get plowed into there. Hogger and Hughes battled for the lead right at the start. Hogger ended up maintained his position. A late race caution set up for a one-lap dash to the finish, which Hogger maintained and managed to expertly secure the win off of. So Dennis Hogger dominated the race. He led all 45 laps, fourth victory of the season, driving for Andretti, just doing a great job. So Calais finished in second place, just 1.046 seconds behind Hogger. So he was bringing the fight to him. He was definitely trying to get a little something there with him. Juan Manuel Correa achieved his career best finish in getting a third place, getting his first podium in the NXT series. So congrats to him on that one as well. That takes us over to the IndyCar series. So let's talk about practice. It's all over the internet. We've already seen a bunch of stuff on it. Will Power decided to push Kyle Kirkwood through a turn in a real aggressive manner. I did a little small rant on Twitter over this, and I realized Kirkwood wasn't all that upset about it. He still ended up with the fastest time on the boards for that day. But Will just being an immature driver, in my opinion. The frustrating part is he did damage to the floor of Kirkwood's chassis, and ultimately it didn't hurt him in the grand scheme of things, but I guess it's just something you overlook. We thought Penske was actually getting treated as equals, and appears not from the outside perspective at the moment. I mean, who does that in practice? Just basically it could have ended up way worse than it was, right? And that was my rant was about. It wasn't so much that Power was just being himself, but what if Kirkwood would have gone into the wall for that action and completely destroyed his day, destroyed that car? You know, had they been going a little faster, like where's the limit, right? Like what's the black line that you can't cross? I don't know. He did damage to the rear floor of the car, but because Kirkwood didn't hit the wall, does that mean it's fine and we just don't look like, we care about it anymore? At IndyCar, I don't know. They were all laughing about it after the fact, and it is what it is, but it doesn't seem to me like something like that should just be overlooked entirely. And also, the weird thing is, too, for a guy that's kind of fighting to keep his ride this next year, it seems kind of like a bad look for Penske and that team that's struggling horrendously this year. And you're doing stunts like that when you're already not winning races, not securing pole positions, barely finishing in the top 10 sometimes. I mean, I don't know, just opinion based. He's obviously a great driver, but it seemed like a pretty risky move. Maybe I'm being a little too picky about it, but from a lifetime IndyCar and open wheel fan, it doesn't seem like a good look, especially in a reserve practice session. There's zero on the line. It's P1, I don't know. Anyway, from there, let's go to practice 2. Nothing really too critical to report. Rossi had to sit for the first 10 minutes of practice because he missed a weigh-in after practice 1. He was a little late to the party. Award struggled a bit. Found the tire barrier once, didn't do a lot of damage to it or anything like that. Marcus Armstrong also found the wall just a little bit, and Colton Herta ended up pulling the fastest time in the second practice session. Jumping over to qualifying, Joseph Newgarden miscalculates a corner and breaks the rear toe link, ending his qualifying attempt and putting him starting towards the rear. Graham Rahal had a great qualifying run, sitting in fifth, but he did have to take an engine penalty, which puts him back to starting in 11th. Colton Herta takes the fastest lap in practice, keeps it going, takes the pole for the second year in a row at Detroit. Andretti and their street program is just awesome. They show dominance every time there's a street race. And yeah, so going from there, both Scott Dixon and Graham Rahal actually had starting penalties for unapproved engine changes. I swear this is the 13th engine in 7 races for Dixon. I don't know what they've got going on over there at Honda Development for that car specifically, but definitely seems to be a lot of headache for them and the team, always doing these swaps and everything else. So let's talk about the race. We had a lot of different strategies. As was predicted, the soft tire would go around 20 laps, but actually saw hard fall off around 6 to 10 laps. Ultimately, we saw 3 different groups on 3 different strategies. Rail had a pretty good run going, but he just can't catch a break. Had a tire hang up in the pits. Extremely long pit stop, kind of ruined where he was at in the strategy. Around lap 68, Callum Ilott came out of the pits taking a big undercut. Comes turn 1 without much help from the left front, being the tire was not fully attached. Put him in the wall, changing the strategy for everyone as the final pit window for everyone was kind of in that range, and that reset the field a little bit. Ferrucci had a good spot out front for a while, but he just didn't have the car to hold back all the Andretti's. With about 20 laps to go, Louis Foster had a full right front suspension failure in the fastest braking zone on track, which is super scary. He plows into Rosenquist. Both drivers are okay, but their days are done after that. That was pretty ugly. Thankfully, both drivers were able to get out of it without issue. This actually brought out a red flag incident to clean up and fix the barriers and everything else. Restart with the last 10 laps was pretty awesome. Battle between Ferrucci and Herta. Then Herta and Power was amazing. We ended up seeing Kirkwood get his second win of the season. Andretti's cars were rockets. Ferrucci ends up pulling a second place, and well-deserved as he defended against Power and Herta from taking that away. This is Santino's best finish of his IndyCar career, and then Andretti rounded off the podium with Herta in third place. So great finish from Andretti in the first and third, and obviously AJ Foyt Racing back on the podium. Pretty awesome to see. We haven't seen that in, I don't know, remember what they said on the broadcast, but it's been quite some time. So congrats to all of them. We'll talk about the little shakeup and post-race stuff when we get to our news segment. Since we did have Detroit, we also had IMSA at Detroit, which was awesome. Several lead changes through the race. Vander de Zante ultimately took the lead from Taylor in turn 1. Taylor initially led for 10 laps, but got caught in traffic, allowing that pass to happen for Zonde. And then you saw Ringer in the number 1 Cadillac taking the top spot, getting the win. Ricky Taylor getting that number 10 Wayne Taylor Racing Acura in second place, and Felipe Nasr in the number 7 Porsche for Penske rounding out the podium, which was good to see somebody besides Penske winning the IMSA races as well. They've had a good run over there. They're having a good run in IndyCar, but they're doing well in NASCAR and they're doing well in IMSA, but IndyCar's struggling for them. We also had Formula One this weekend, Formula One Spanish Grand Prix. Biggest thing going into it, Lance Stroll was going to miss due to a hand injury. Replacement driver over there for that team. Piastri had a great strong start, maintained his lead into the first corner. Later in the race, you saw dramatic stuff between Max Verstappen and George Russell in the closing stages. Added for quite a bit of tension. There was a lot of battles between Norris and Verstappen. Piastri ended up taking a commanding win in it, further leading his championship hunt, if you will. Lando Norris secured second place, showing quite a consistent performance out of that team. And Charles Leclerc actually rounded out the podium, adding valuable points to that season. So congrats to all of them on that. Nashville weekend over there at NASCAR. Truck Series race. It was pretty good. It was a pretty good event. Rajah Caruth ended up clinching his second career win by holding off Corey Heim. His first career win came at Las Vegas. What was that, last year? Corey Heim and Lane Riggs both battling for it in the final laps. Caruth actually led for 61 of a 150-lap race, including the last 51, thanks to crucial pit stop strategy and good work over there by that team, getting him in and out quickly. Heim won the second stage, but he couldn't reclaim the lead after pit stop error. I think Corey Heim's still 100 points above everybody in the championship right now anyway. Lane Riggs, who won the first stage of this race, he had a bunch of challenges of pit stops as well, but manages to secure the podium there at third place. So really, at the end of the day, all 3 stage winners were battling it out for the lead at the end. Great to see good results come to Rajah. He's always in the fight, so it's good to see some of that pay off for him. So congrats to that team over there.
I think the really leading up to like 10 to go was more tense than anything. I got to the 1 and obviously as a teammate to the 11, so just a bunch of air blocking behind him, and as soon as I passed him, he just rolled over for the 11. So that was the biggest hurdle I had to deal with, and the 11 got the top working pretty well in 3 and 4, and I just had to cover that a couple times. But once Lane got there, it really just made it to where I could extend a gap and get some breathing room. So I'd say really leading up to 10 to go and dealing with that truck was the most tense parts of tonight.
That brings us to the Xfinity Series. Justin Allgaier on concrete's pretty unstoppable. He dominated the Tennis Lottery 250 there at the Nashville Superspeedway. It's his third win of the 2025 season. He led 101 of 188 laps, swept both the stages leading up to the win, just basically shut out everybody. Allgaier had to fend off his JR Motorsports teammate, though, and Connor Zilic in the final laps, ultimately winning by 1.2 seconds, 1.289 if we want to get technical. Zilic ends up second place, followed by Sam Mayer in third. A great day on the concrete for Dale Jr. Motorsports because they dominated everything on that one. Let's talk Cup Series real quick. NASCAR Cup Series race at Nashville Superspeedway again, Nashville weekend. Ryan Blaney getting it done, finally getting some good luck, getting all of his fans perked up again. They've been, waiting for the moment to take a bath with a toaster, and they get it done. Ryan Blaney clinched his first victory of the 2025 season. There was a Cracker Barrel 400. We had some dominance from Blaney and his team as they led 139 of 300 laps, which I believe is the most in one race for him. If I could be wrong on that stat, but I do believe that's a career high. And securing himself a playoff spot because honestly, they're in rough shape over there. All the other Penske cars are in. Blaney was struggling one thing after another, but he got it done. Denny Hamlin won the opening stage. Blaney took the second stage, and Blaney took the win. He held off Carson Hocevar. We had 103 laps of a green flag run, which was pretty awesome, but held off Hocevar by just under 3 seconds and gets it done. And Hamlin ends up in third place, securing some more points that he needed just to stay golden. Blaney, as usual, celebrated by running into the grandstands. I believe he handed the flag out to somebody right away. Like I said, this locks in all the Penske cars for the round of 16 for the playoffs this year. Seems like those cars are ahead of the pack overall. Blaney's been dealing with a lot of bad luck, but he is getting it done. They close pretty well in those cars. They're always the closers. And notable also, we need to talk about, this was Denny Hamlin's 700th race. This was Denny Hamlin's 700th race start, so in NASCAR. Congrats to him on that. What a great career. Still chasing that elusive championship, but maybe this will be his year. Let's listen to what Hocevar and Hamlin said post-race, and then we'll dive into the standings.
I mean, you all saw it. I mean, it's impossible to get around. Or not impossible, but we don't have, you need 600 miles to probably pass 3 cars the way that was going. And how rubbered up it was. Just tried moving up, and a lap car just drove right back around me. So it was just super difficult and obviously frustrating. But the 12 was backing up to me, and I was like, oh, okay, I'll get a spot or have a shot. And then I caught what he caught. So.
I thought that the 12 showed in the really long run in practice he was a lot better. Not a lot better than us, but just better than some other cars. And so we never really ran that long until we got in the race. And, it was around lap 40 to 45 in a run. His car just kept, his car lost less speed than what mine did. Mine really went off a cliff and got loose. A bunch of the cars that I was around were getting loose. His did not. So I just think that they had a really, really good long run car, and we just didn't have that capability.
Right. So here's where we're at with the playoff standings for the NASCAR Cup Series playoffs right now. Top 16 positions. You've got William Byron in first place, Kyle Larson in second, Christopher Bell in third, Denny Hamlin in fourth, Chase Elliott in fifth, Tyler Reddick in sixth, Ryan Blaney now after that win, that puts him at seventh, Joey Logano in eighth, Ross Chastain in ninth, Bubba Wallace is in 10th spot, which is great to see for 2311. Chase Briscoe driving that number 19 for Joe Gibbs Racing, he's in 11th. Alex Bowman still holding on with 12th spot, Austin Cindric in 13th, Chris Buescher, which is RFK Racing. Awesome to see one of them in here. Actually, there's 2 of them in here right now. Chris Buescher in 14th. Kyle Busch is hanging out in 15th and rounding off that last spot for Ryan Preece, which is the other RFK racing car, which I believe is their leased car. And then Carson Hocevar and Ricky Stenhouse just knocking on the door right now. Same with AJ Allmendinger and Josh Berry. Anything can happen. We still got a bunch of races left, but that's kind of where we're sitting right now. We haven't talked about that for a bit. So there we are on that. And we can't forget about the dirt track racing we had. We had World of Outlaws at River City Speedway. Donnie Schatz emerged victorious in the Don Mack Classic. This is his 4th consecutive win at this track. He led all 40 laps of the A main, showing how consistent he can be there. We also had a second place finish by Brad Sweet, and a local favorite in Mark Dobmeyer ended up going from 8th place to 3rd to finish it off. So pretty awesome to see that. We'll take a listen to the results here on that one from them.
Yeah, a track like this, being able to control the pace is really big, especially when they do an extensive track work. You kind of figure that it could get narrower and more defined groove, kind of like it did at the end. Like I said earlier, I think they did a great job with the track, and for only being rubber the last 3 to 5 laps maybe, I thought it was really good. And I think just letting him be out front those few laps let me move around and let me figure out where my car was good or not so good. And I've always said you got to be maneuverable anywhere, but especially here, especially with the lines changing so much and the pace is so quick, you got to be able to move right away. And
the following night, we had World of Outlaws at Red River Valley. Sheldon Hodenschild secured his second win of the season. This race is called the Rumble on the Red. Basically, started on the front row, quickly took a lead from Donnie Schatz on the opening lap. Went green to checkered, no cautions, no yellow flags, no nothing for the 30-lap main, so nonstop action there, which is great. Hodenschild held off Schatz and David Gravel, who finished 2nd and 3rd there, respectively. This is his 44th career win in the series for Hodenschild, tying him for 19th all-time, which is great to see that. Just a great bunch of guys over there at the World of Outlaws, and then obviously some visitors from High Limit, since you had Brad Sweet and everything else, so...
I thought I saw someone's nose peek under there, and I just figured it was time to start moving around a little bit, and I feel like I did it at the perfect time. But man, hats off to Ripper, Luke, and Jace. Man, running 5th, 6th, 7th are no fun. And
yeah, just a great weekend in racing. What can we say? We've also got Midget Week in Indiana this week, so we'll cover that on the next episode, but that's going on as we speak. We'll do a summarize of the whole week on the next race recap in the next episode. And yeah, stick around for some more. Also want to just take a quick moment to ask that you like, share, subscribe, whatever platform you're comfortable on, whatever platform you're using. We've got the YouTube channel. Tell a friend. That's what keeps this thing going. We're not going to try to bog this thing down with ads or anything like that. We just want to get some good following going and get some good fan interaction. So please, as always, like, share, subscribe, follow us on Instagram, Twitter /X, YouTube, all the good stuff. All right, let's talk about a few key news pieces real quick. Some IndyCar news we covered during the race recap. There was going to be some Detroit Grand Prix talk. Santino Ferrucci and the number 14 team did not pass post-race tech for driver ballast weight. This unfortunately takes away all the good that came with his first podium. They'll have to forfeit 25 points and pay a fine of $25,000, which is a pretty consistent penalty to things like that in the past. The car was not underweight as a whole. It was just the weight distribution. So it's not like he had a competitive advantage by being a little underweight. I think it was less than 2 pounds that he was underweight in the driver area. Still unfortunate, but like I said, he was still few pounds over the minimum requirement for the car total weight. So like he wasn't cheating. Something got overlooked. Something got changed. Unfortunate for that team to not get the points and everything that they tried to do there. But it is what it is. They still get the trophy. It just doesn't have quite the same meaning. While we're talking about the Detroit Grand Prix, they have renewed a 3-year deal as of now, extending the race through 2028 with a 3-year option beyond that. That's per article Nathan Brown wrote for the Indy Star. So good to see some consistency. That's obviously GM's backyard. GM did not win that race this year, but still a great race for them. The only other little thing we got, a little bit of NASCAR news. Corey LaJoie is actually going to make a return to Spire to run that 07 truck in 9 races coming up. He'll run that Spire truck to compete at Michigan, Richmond, Darlington, Bristol, New Hampshire, which I'll be at, Charlotte, Talladega, Martinsville, and Phoenix. Basically, a lot for playoff races, even though he won't be eligible. But it's good to see him get back in a car, right? And he's doing a great job with Amazon and those guys over there doing the broadcast right now. So good to see him going to climb back into a car.
Tragedy today in the world of auto racing, where driver Tony Renna was killed during a tire test while taking his first laps with a new team at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Renna was a test driver for Kelly Racing last year, finally got his break just a few weeks ago, was set to drive for Target Ganassi full-time next year.
On Friday, the Indy Racing League released the results of its investigation into the crash that took the life of driver Tony Renna during a tire test at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway October 22nd. Though the report says the specific cause of the high-speed crash will probably never be known, it does shed light on the details of the accident. According to the report, Renna's G-Force Toyota entered Speedway Turn 3 at 227 miles an hour, then spun driver's left of the infield. Bouncing across the grass allowed air under the car, which caused it to rise and fly across the track, striking the debris fence above the outside wall. Renna's fatal injuries apparently occurred when the bottom of the car hit a post, splitting the monocoque, part of which remained tangled on the fence.
Finally, once again, back with the history action. This one's a little sad, unfortunately. Somebody that could have been a great hero in motorsports, but deserves to be talked about, and that is Tony Renna. Tony Renna was born in Victorville, California on November 23rd, 1976, to a meat company owner, Joe Renna, and his wife, Mary. He is the cousin of George Steinbrenner IV, who is the co-owner of Harding Steinbrenner Racing. I used to see a bunch of that in IndyCar, not so much these days. But they still are active in IMSA and a few other things. Family moved to Apple Valley, California from Tampa, Florida in 1975. Renna was educated at Bishop Moore High School and Father Lopez Catholic High School, graduating in 1995. He was a bat boy for the New York Yankees. As a child, he played football, basketball, baseball, and unfortunately, we saw him pass away a little too soon. Let's talk about his early career days, and we'll talk about what took his life from us. Renna began go-karting in Orlando at age 6. He would race at Horseman's Park and learned how to drive circuits at Barberville and New Smyrna Beach. He focused full-time on racing after deeming himself inadequate at Little League Baseball. Told his father his choice of the career. He said, do you know what you're asking for? Do you know you're asking for the brass ring and Olympic gold medal? He began focusing on the opportunity in open-wheel racing. He idolized guys like Rick Mears, Alan Sir Jr., wanted to drive for Team Penske. Renna went on to drive a quarter midget, mini sprint, motocross bike, and a micro sprint. He won 252 races in his early career, 2 national quarter midget championships before the age of 15. His father made sure that he knew how to turn a wrench on his cars, and he also acted as his crew chief. At age 16, Renna progressed to car racing, competing in the Skip Barber Formula Ford Racing Series in 1993 to learn the skill of road course racing. He took 1 win and 7 top 3 finishes, finished 10th in the final point standings that year. He improved the following year when he won 8 races and achieved 3 second-place finishes and won a series championship for Skip Barber. So that's pretty cool in the Formula Ford Series. 1995, Jim O'Brien saw him. He was a member of the American Development Organization for Racing for America. Asked if he was interested in driving in Europe. Renna said he was, but he was unsure if his family could budget it and get him there. He ended up running some more Formula Ford program stuff through Skip Barber and ended up actually getting an opportunity from there to compete in Formula 3. He also jumped around and ran a few races for Murray Taylor Racing in the UK. He drove 6 races in the Dallara Vauxhall car for West Surrey Racing. In the British Formula 3 Class B Championship, he secured a win at the Pembrey circuit that was later taken from him due to technical infraction. He had 3 pole positions, 3 more podiums. He returned to the United States a year later with no money after competing in Europe. Ended up joining the 96 Barber Dodge Pro Series, finishing 7th in the Drivers' Championship with 105 points from 3 podium finishes and 2 pole positions. He was named the 96 Barber Dodge Pro Series Rookie of the Year. He won the Skip Barber Racing School Big Scholarship. He won the Team USA Scholarship over 6 others that participated that year. He partnered with Jerry Nadeau, who was a stock car driver at the time, in the Formula Opel Lotus car, finishing 2nd to win a silver medal. Renna was selected as a finalist for the Team Green Academy as one of top 5 competitors. He was nominated for the Lynx Racing Scholarship. Just one thing after another, this kid was just killing it, right? Just nothing stopping him. He made 1 appearance in US F2000 National Championship for DSTP Motorsports at the Walt Disney World Speedway, which I missed that one a lot. In January of 97, he finished 9th in that race. He continued to race in the Dodge Pro Series, claimed 3 more podiums out of the next 8 races, finished 10th in the championship that year. In September of 97, Matco Raceworks founder Matt Cohen hired Renna to drive in the Indy Lights Series. At the time, this was the kart feeder series because they had the kart and the Indy split. But they wanted him to race for him in 1998. So he jumped over in the 98 season. He ended up driving the number 77 Lola Buick-powered car. He won at Michigan International Speedway, 2 pole positions, had 6 top 10 finishes, and placed 8th in the Drivers' Championship with 68 points. In April of 99, CART imposed a 1-year suspension for the team due to illegal engine modifications in Mark Hotchkiss' car that was Renna's teammate. Renna still contracted to them, sought employment in either the Busch Series over at NASCAR, which is now the Xfinity Series, or a Truck Series ride. He ended up driving a partial Indy Lights Pac West schedule in 1999 and was a test and development driver for CART. Renna drove the number 17, gaining 2 top 10 finishes and a 16th place finish in the Drivers' Championship that year. Having signed a 5-year contract later that year for Pac West Racing for the 2000 Indy Lights and continue as a test and development driver, he ended up going to a 2-day test session at Firebird Raceway in December of 99 as preparation for the season. Renna changed his car number to the number 18. He ended up getting top 10 finishes in every round during the season except 2 due to consecutive retirements, mechanical failure at the Milwaukee Mile, and then an accident in Detroit. Renna finished 5th in the Drivers' Championship with 105 points. Before 2001, an agreement for Renna to drive Pac West kart team fell through. He was released from the Indy Lights team. Renna was less active during that year. He made 1 appearance at the Speed Vision World Challenge and drove the BMW M3 over there for that one. He finished 17th, which obviously 1 race. He didn't have much for points in the championship. He spent much of the year seeking employment for race teams, visiting garages, trying to find an opportunity and network with the IRL, the Indy Racing League, which is now the IndyCar Series. Renna was employed as a driving instructor at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, Derek Daly Performance Driving Academy. Derek Daly, the father of Connor Daly, competed in the NASCAR late model stock car events for Dick Cobb on a weekly basis at the track as well. So just running the West Coast feeder series basically until he could get his foot back into IndyCar. So let's talk about when he went back to IndyCar. Tom Kelly of Kelly Racing was introduced to Renna. They became acquainted, and Renna, obviously looking for a job, signed a contract in May of 2002. Renna served a few different spots for Kelly Racing, including a spotter, test driver, communications guy, just a little bit of everything, right? Renna was actually helping spot for Al Unser Jr. over there for Kelly Racing. And when Al Unser Jr. had to step away from racing for a short stint in July of 2002, Kelly Racing needed a replacement driver for 2 events and asked Renna to fill in because he was enthusiastic and had the credentials to match it. So under the observation of 3-time Indy 500 winner Johnny Rutherford, Renna passed the IRL-sanctioned 4-phase rookie test at Texas Motor Speedway. That allowed him to compete in the series. His first 2 races driving Kelly Racing's number 7 Dallara Chevrolet. Renna took consecutive top 10 finishes at Nashville and at Michigan. After Unser returned to the car, the team expanded its roster to 3 cars because they were so impressed with Renna's performance. They wanted him to keep going, and they obtained some sponsorship to allow him to keep driving. He ended up switching to car number 78 and took 2 more top 10 finishes. Ended up 24th overall in the points series. After the season concluded, budget decrease led Kelly Racing to reduce its roster from 3 to 2 cars, leaving Renna without a race seat once again. Poor guy could not ever catch a break on sponsorship or keeping a job in IndyCar. He remained employed by the team, but continued to work as Unser spotter, drove go-karts and stuff to maintain his racing technique. Difficulty finding sponsorship to compete in races restricted Renna primarily as just being a test driver. Made a couple single race appearances, one in the Indianapolis 500 in 2003. Starting from 8th place, he finished 7th. Chip Ganassi Racing managing director Mike Hull, who's still over there today, told Chip that Renna was a driver to take notice of. Chip Ganassi offered Renna a driving role for the team in the 2004 season in place of Thomas Schechter, who moved over to Panther Racing, and to partner him with 2003 champion Scott Dixon. Renna accepted the role. This is a huge opportunity for him. Tom Kelly allowed him to release from his contract and join them because he could not agree that he could drive for him in 2004. So this leads us to the saddest part of this story. Renna made his first on-track appearance for CGR in a private Firestone tire test session at IMS, the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, on October 22nd. The track and the tires on his car were cold at 9:20 a.m. While on his 4th lap driving the number 10 G-Force Toyota, Renna entered turn 3 below the normal racing line at 227 miles an hour. He lost control of the vehicle. without having made any prior collision with the trackside safer barriers. Did not appear to have suffered a mechanical fault. Renna's car spun sideways just after the turn, rotated 90 degrees to the left into the infield grass, causing the vehicle to lift, skip over the grass. While traveling airborne, the car turned about another 30 degrees to the left. The bottom of Renna's car stuck to the outside retaining fence above the 4-foot safer barrier and at the exit of turn 3, causing more than 100 Gs of force to his body, which he was unable to withstand. This destroyed the car, splitting it in two, throwing its gearbox into a grandstand, snapping fence posts, scattering debris all over the track, the grandstand walkways, everything. Thankfully, it was just a test, but the results still fatal. The first layer of the grandstand was pretty destroyed up. Renna, who had his Hans device, was killed instantly by the massive internal trauma. No one else was injured. The cockpit tub that holds the driver in the car was tangled up in the fence and dangled there with Renna still in it. IRL medical personnel arrived at the scene and were unable to restart Renna's heart. He was transported by ambulance to Indiana University Health Methodist Hospital, which is about 6 minutes from the track. He was pronounced dead on arrival at 9:40 local time. Such a sad deal. Renna was the first fatality in the IRL since Scott Brayton, who was killed during practice for the 96 Indy 500, and the first American open wheel racing death since Greg Moore died in the kart series race at California in 99. An autopsy conducted at Marion County determined Renna died instantly after sustaining fatal blunt force head and chest injuries from the high force of the impact. The afternoon of October 27th, Renna was given a memorial service at St. John Catholic Church. It was attended by 400 people, and just sad. Just reading the stats on that is just sad. The week after Renna's death, the IRL began an investigation involving officials from IMS, CGR, and Firestone because Renna's crash occurred during a private test session with the media and public not allowed to enter the speedway. There were no eyewitnesses, photographs, or video footage of the accident. The car was impounded at the track. Connectors on its black box were severely damaged, rendering officials unable to download the onboard electronic data it contained. Sent to the manufacturer in the UK, where data from the car's accident was downloaded and determined whether a mechanical failure contributed to the crash. The results were released to the public on December 19th, 2003. According to the data provided to the IRL, did not produce a 100% conclusion as to why the tragic accident occurred. Many unknown possibilities that could have contributed to the car to cause the accident, quoting the report there on that. This is where the engineers started to figure out why the car lifted, how to make things safer, just everything to make things better for, all this safety stuff's written in tragedy. So as a consequence of his fatal accident and a couple other major crashes from Kenny Breck, Helio Castroneves, and Jill DeFerrin, and Mario Andretti in 2003, IRL mandated rule changes that 2004 Indianapolis 500 onward with the intention of reducing power by 10% and reducing speeds of 10 miles an hour. Accordingly, car engine sizes were reduced from 3.5 liters to 3.0 liters, and aerodynamics were effectively changed to prevent the cars from coming airborne. So, man, just a wild ride, super sad, unfortunate stuff to talk about. But somebody needs to be remembered for all that he did for the sport. So we thank him for that and all the safety devices and things that have changed since then. So obviously the cars have changed quite a bit since then, completely different with Dallara doing all the cars now and the chassis we've been on for 13 plus years now at this point. So that's about it. That wraps it up for this one. A sad one, unfortunately, but sometimes history is not always fun, right? Thank you for listening. As always, once again, please like, share, subscribe, tell a friend. If you have any requests for any segments, any history, anything like that, give us a shout on any of the socials. We'd love to hear from you. That pretty much wraps it up today. We've got a good weekend of racing ahead of us. IndyCar's off this week, but we still have everybody else doing their things. So yeah, we'll take that in stride, and we'll be back next week with another one. As always, stay safe, and thanks for tuning in.
Just the experience of being here was overwhelming. It was a great month, and so much thanks to Cure Autism Now and Home Ed Pharmacy. They're the ones that really ponied up, and they're the ones that reason I'm here. And Kelly Racing's a fantastic team. I hooked up with them last year, and they've just been phenomenal since I got there.
Thank you for sharing your time with us. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. Don't forget to follow us at Historic Hot Laps on X and all your other social platforms for the latest updates and sneak peeks into upcoming episodes. You can reach out to us directly at historichotlaps@gmail.com. Send us your feedback, questions, comments, opinions, and additional subject matter you'd like us to cover. Thanks for tuning in.